In the middle of a quiet night on Earth, deep space antennas in the Arizona desert caught something strange, a repeating pulse. At first, scientists thought it was just another burst of static, maybe a dying star sending out background noise. But as the data came through, the signal formed clear words. Not human words, not any known language, but sharp sounds that cut into the recording. When translated by Earth's newest AI system, the meaning shocked everyone. Do not interfere. Let humanity sleep. This is the last warning. The scientists froze. No one spoke. For years, there had been whispers about strange readings in the outer system, shadows near Neptune, odd flickers around Jupiter. But this was different. This was not random. This was a message directed at Earth. Within an hour, the UN War Council was called into emergency session. Admirals, generals, and leaders from every major nation appeared on secure screens. Tension filled the room as the recording played. The words echoed again. Do not interfere. Let humanity sleep. Is this a threat? One general demanded. Or is it a test? Asked another. No one could answer. But one fact stood clear. Someone, or something, out there was watching Earth. In orbit, Earth's newest fleet was preparing for its first major readiness drill. Dozens of massive warships floated above the blue planet, their hulls shining with fresh steel. Soldiers marched inside troop carriers, technicians loaded missiles, and fleet captains ran last-minute checks. The broadcast reached them too. Every officer on every ship heard it. Many pretended not to be shaken, but deep down, unease spread like fire. Who could send such a warning? And why tell humanity to sleep? Captain Arden of the warship Resolute Dawn stood at his command deck, staring out at Earth below. Someone doesn't want us awake, he muttered. His crew exchanged nervous looks. The captain's voice was calm, but there was something in his eyes, suspicion, fear, and maybe anger. Then came the first sighting. A tracking station near the moon reported movement. An object gliding in the dark, far too large for any human craft. No radio signals, no identification. It simply moved in silence, shadow against shadow. Earth's fleet scrambled. Fighters launched, their engines glowing bright blue. Frigates adjusted formation, weapons powering up. The order was given: intercept the unknown. For the first time in history, humanity's war fleet went to battle alert against something not of Earth. The alien ship drifted slowly into view. It was huge, longer than the tallest human skyscraper, with jagged edges that glowed faintly violet. Panels across its hull shimmered like living metal. It did not respond to hails, did not turn away. It only watched. From the surface of Earth, people could see it too. A dark shape against the stars, crossing near the moon. News channels exploded with fear. Families crowded in front of screens, some praying, some whispering that maybe the warning had been true. On board Resolute Dawn, Captain Arden clenched his fists. Why now? Why show themselves only after sending that signal? No one had an answer. Hours passed. The alien ship charges its weapons, violet light burning across its hull, while Earth's entire war fleet aims everything at it. The battle is seconds away, and ship did not move closer, but neither did it leave. It hung there like a silent judge, while humanity's fleet circled nervously. Tension grew heavier by the minute. Then, without warning, the alien vessel released a short pulse of light. Not a weapon, just a flash, as if taking a picture. Seconds later, Earth's satellites picked up dozens of smaller objects near the ship, like drones, spreading out in all directions. They're mapping us, Arden said grimly. Counting every ship, every weapon. Back on Earth, the War Council argued furiously. Some demanded an immediate strike before the aliens could act. Others warned that attacking first would be suicide. The president of Earth's council finally spoke. If they wanted us destroyed, they would have fired already. They are waiting. The question is, for what? Night fell again on Earth. Civilians watched the alien ship through telescopes, through phone cameras, through live streams that spread across the world. Fear grew. Children asked if the aliens were here to invade. Parents could not answer. In space, the fleets held their ground. Human warships floated in tense silence, weapons armed but fingers off the trigger, and then it happened. At 03:17 Universal Time, without any warning, the alien ship shifted. Its engines glowed purple, and slowly it turned its massive bulk directly toward Earth. Panic erupted across the command channels. "They're moving!"
"Target locked!"
"Orders, Captain?" On Resolute Dawn, alarms blared. The crew shouted in fear. Captain Arden stood tall, eyes fixed on the screen. The alien ship's weapons ports began to open, vast, glowing lines running down its hull, and then, in a voice that shook every radio, every channel, every ship across Earth's orbit, the aliens spoke. "We warned you not to interfere." The alien ship did not fire. For long, tense minutes, it only held its position, its violet glow shining like a storm about to break. Earth's war fleet floated in tight formation, weapons locked, waiting for the order to strike. Across the planet below, billions held their breath. Then the alien ship pulled back, drifting toward the dark side of the moon. It moved slowly, almost casually, as though daring humanity to follow. Captain Arden of the Resolute Dawn leaned forward in his command chair. His eyes were fixed on the massive silhouette. "They want us to chase them," he said. Admiral Sato, commanding the fleet from the flagship Iron Will, gave the order. "Task Force 1, pursue." Maintain firing readiness. The fleet engines roared to life. Dozens of human warships surged forward, their engines glowing bright blue. The pursuit had begun. On the lunar surface, scientists at Armstrong Base watched the alien shadow crawl across the sky. They sent urgent warnings back to Earth. The ship was not alone. Strange readings showed faint signals beneath the moon's crust, as if something had been buried there long ago. The discovery spread quickly through the fleet's channels. Officers whispered that the moon might not be as empty as they once thought. Inside Resolute Dawn, Lieutenant Hayes monitored the sensors. His voice was tight with fear. "Captain, I'm reading movement. Not just the big one. Smaller contacts, dozens of them near the dark side. Show me," Arden ordered. The display lit up with shifting red dots. Drones, shuttles, or smaller warships, it was impossible to tell. But they were spreading across the moon's shadow like a swarm. The first strike came without warning. From behind a crater ridge, 3 alien craft shot forward, their hulls sleek and glowing. They fired beams of violet light that cut across the void, striking one of Earth's frigates. The ship shuddered, its hull melting under the heat, before breaking apart into a silent fireball. The fleet reacted instantly. Human destroyers opened fire, their railguns hurling metal slugs at impossible speeds. Missiles streaked through the darkness, leaving trails of fire. The sky above the moon lit up with a storm of war. But the aliens were faster. They darted between the craters and shadows, vanishing and reappearing like ghosts. Every time the humans thought they had them pinned, another strike came from a new angle. On Earth, civilians watched the battle unfold through shaky broadcasts. News anchors struggled to stay calm as footage showed human ships exploding above the moon. In cities, crowds gathered around giant screens, faces pale with fear. "They are testing us," one commentator said. "They are showing how weak we really are." But not everyone agreed. Across military channels, officers argued that humanity had to stand firm. That retreat now would mean surrender forever. Inside the alien ship, hidden deep in shadow, a council of alien commanders observed the fight. Their faces were cold and unreadable, their voices sharp. "They were warned," one hissed. "They are reckless," said another. A third leaned forward, eyes glowing. "And yet, they resist. They fight harder than expected," the alien leader spoke at last. "Then we must push them further. Let them bleed. Let them understand what interference costs." Back in orbit, Captain Arden's ship shook as another beam flashed past. Sparks rained down from the ceiling. The crew scrambled to control damage. "Shields holding," Hayes shouted. "Return fire now," Arden snapped. Resolute Dawn unleashed a volley of missiles. They streaked across the darkness and smashed into one of the alien craft. The explosion bloomed bright against the moon's black surface. For the first time, the humans had scored a kill. Cheers erupted across the ship. But the celebration ended quickly. From behind the alien wreckage, 5 more ships emerged, larger and heavier. They moved in flawless formation, weapons already glowing. Admiral Sato's voice cut through the fleet channels. All ships regroup. Protect the carriers. Do not break formation. But the aliens were already circling, cutting into the formation with deadly precision. One by one, human ships fell. Fire lit the lunar shadows. On Earth, the War Council watched in grim silence. The President's voice was low. If they break the fleet here, Earth itself will be next. Then came the moment no one expected. Armstrong Base, the human outpost on the moon, reported sudden power failures. Lights flickered, alarms screamed, and then the ground began to shake. A deep rumble echoed beneath the lunar soil, as if something massive was waking up. Sensors across the fleet lit with warnings. A new contact was rising from beneath the moon's surface. The officers on Resolute Dawn stared at their screens in disbelief. It was not a ship, not in the usual sense. It was larger, far larger. A buried alien warship, the size of a small city, was clawing its way out of the moon itself. Dust and rock flew into space as the colossal vessel rose, its hull glowing with ancient power. Every channel went silent. Then, slowly, the massive ship turned, its shadow falling across Earth's fleet. Its weapons ports lit with the same violet glow as the others, but brighter, sharper, deadly beyond measure. On the bridge of Resolute Dawn, Arden's voice was barely a whisper. They were never warning us to stay out of their war. The warning was about this. Something was waiting under the moon. The buried alien warship fully emerges from the lunar surface, its weapons charging. As Earth's fleet prepares for a battle it cannot win. The moon shook as the alien warship rose from beneath its surface. Stone and dust scattered into the void. The ship was monstrous, larger than anything humanity had ever built. Its hull stretched like a floating fortress, glowing with violet light. Earth's fleet braced itself. Every ship aimed its weapons at the rising giant. Inside the command deck of Resolute Dawn, Captain Arden felt the weight of silence press down. His crew waited for orders, hands trembling over the controls. The alien warship's weapons began to charge, glowing brighter with every second. "Admiral, we cannot wait," Arden warned. Admiral Sato's voice came across the channel, steady but grim. "All ships, open fire!" The void exploded with light. Missiles streaked from human carriers, railguns thundered, and energy beams burned across the black sky. The target was massive. Every weapon locked on the buried warship now breaking free. The first wave struck hard. Explosions rippled across the alien hull. Fire and sparks shot into space. For a moment there was hope. Human soldiers cheered as the giant seemed to falter, but then the warship's true power awakened. Panels along its sides slid open. Towers of violet energy rose, humming with deadly force. In one instant it fired. A beam of pure light cut through the darkness, striking a human destroyer. The ship shattered into fragments, glowing debris scattering across the void. Another beam fired, and another. Every second, a human warship died. Panic spread across the fleet. Crews shouted, alarms blared, voices filled with fear. "They are cutting through us. We cannot stop that thing." On Resolute Dawn, Lieutenant Hayes watched the carnage on the screens. His face was pale. "Captain, they are targeting command ships first." Arden slammed his fist against the console. "Then we give them something else to worry about. Focus all fire on the smaller escorts. Break their formation." The fleet adjusted, redirecting their fire. Human missiles struck at the swarm of smaller alien craft, shattering two and damaging others. For the first time, the giant ship's support began to thin, but the main warship pressed forward, unstoppable. On Earth, billions watched the battle live. Cities fell silent as feeds showed the alien giant tearing into humanity's fleet. Families cried as they saw ships vanish in fire. Anchors on news stations spoke with shaking voices, telling civilians to prepare for the worst. In the War Council chamber, leaders argued. Some demanded retreat. Others shouted for immediate use of Earth's secret weapons. The president of the council rose, his face pale but firm. "If we run, we are finished. If we surrender, we are slaves." We hold the line, the fleet fought on. Above the moon, the battle turned into chaos. Human warships darted between craters, trying to use the lunar surface as cover. Alien beams carved the shadows apart. Entire valleys glowed as the weapons burned into rock. Arden stood at the front of the command deck, every nerve on fire. "Bring us closer." Right into its path, the crew gasped, but no one disobeyed. Resolute Dawn surged forward, engines blazing. The ship flew past burning wrecks, weaving between shattered debris, heading straight for the giant. "Captain, if we get too close," Hayes began. "We have to show them we are not afraid," Arden snapped. "Even if it kills us." Resolute Dawn fired a full barrage at near point-blank range. The missiles struck the alien giant's lower hull. For the first time, the massive ship flinched. Armor plates peeled away. A section of its glowing surface dimmed. Cheers erupted again, but they died quickly. The alien warship retaliated. A blast of violet energy struck Resolute Dawn. The ship shuddered violently, alarms screaming. Fire burst across the decks. Crew members were thrown from their stations. "Damage report." Arden shouted. "Shields failing, engines crippled," Hayes cried. "We cannot take another hit like that." At that moment, a strange thing happened. The alien warship stopped firing. Its glowing weapons dimmed slightly. The smaller ships pulled back, forming a ring around the human fleet. Arden narrowed his eyes. "Why stop now?" "They could finish us," then the answer came. A transmission cut through every channel, human and alien alike. The voice was harsh, echoing and full of contempt. "You were warned. Do not interfere. This conflict is not yours. Leave the stars or Earth will burn." The fleet froze. Every soldier, every commander, every civilian listening on Earth heard the words. For a moment, no one moved. No one dared speak. Admiral Sato broke the silence. "And if we refuse?" The alien voice hissed back. "Then you join the fallen. Do not test us again." The transmission ended. Arden clenched his jaw. He saw the faces of his crew, burned but unbroken. He thought of the billions watching from Earth. He thought of the warning that had started it all. "They think they can scare us into silence," he said quietly. "They think we will bow." He stood tall, his voice sharp. "Signal the fleet. Prepare all weapons. If they want to see humanity's answer, they will see it now." The order spread across the fleet. Engines roared back to life. Weapons locked on target once more. Human warships formed up, battered but unyielding, and in the shadows of the moon, the alien giant turned again, its weapons powering up for a second strike. Both fleets locked onto each other, weapons glowing, seconds away from unleashing a storm of fire that could decide the fate of Earth itself. Far from Earth, across the spiral arms of the galaxy, a council of alien races gathered in their vast chamber. The council dome was carved from living crystal, glowing with pale blue light. Towering spires reached into the dark void above, and banners of countless species hung from the walls. This was the center of power, where star empires made their laws. The chamber buzzed with voices, hundreds of alien delegates whispering and arguing. They had all seen the same transmission. The humans had ignored the warning. The humans had dared to fight. At the head of the chamber, the high seat glowed. The presiding speaker, an ancient being of silver skin and 6 cold eyes, struck the staff of order against the floor. The sound boomed through the dome, silencing the chaos. "They should not have resisted," the speaker said. "Earth was given its chance. Now their fleet dares to stand against the Elder's decree. They must be punished before their fire spreads." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Some nodded in agreement. Others looked uneasy. A tall reptilian delegate slammed his clawed hand against the railing. "Crush them now. Burn their planet. If we hesitate, they will believe themselves equal to us." But another voice rose, softer, cautious. A feathered envoy with sharp golden eyes shook his head. "No species has ever defied us so openly. Yet humanity fights with courage. They have faced our warship and still stand. This alone should trouble us." The council erupted again. Dozens shouted over one another, voices clashing. Some demanded destruction. Some called for restraint. Some even suggested negotiation. Behind the main circle sat the observers, shadowy figures hidden in cloaks. They rarely spoke, Yet everyone knew their presence meant something greater was at play. When one observer stood, the chamber fell silent once more. The figure's voice was low, almost a whisper, but it carried across every corner. The humans are different. They are reckless. They are dangerous. History tells us such species cannot be ignored. If they are not crushed, they will rise. The speaker leaned forward. Then it is decided. A second fleet will be prepared. Earth will learn the price of defiance. But the golden-eyed envoy interrupted, his feathers bristling. You speak as if it will be simple. Did you not see? They wounded the giant ship. No species has ever done that. Their weapons should not be able to. Yet they struck through armor older than their civilization. Uneasy murmurs followed. The delegates shifted in their seats, doubt creeping into their minds. While the chamber argued across the galaxy, human survivors regrouped. Word of the first battle spread fast. Every corner of Earth felt the weight of what had happened. Soldiers sharpened their blades. Engineers worked night and day to repair the fleet. Civilians, instead of cowering, began to whisper of hope. Humanity had stood against the impossible. Humanity had not bowed, and the council knew it. The speaker struck the floor again, voice sharp. Enough! The humans are insects. Their courage does not matter. Their numbers do not matter. They will be buried under fire. But for the first time, doubt lingered in the chamber. One of the observers leaned closer to the speaker. The hooded figure whispered something only the front seats could hear. The speaker's 6 eyes flickered, his expression twisting. Impossible, he hissed. The hooded figure's voice cut through the silence. It is true. Long ago, a prophecy was written. It spoke of a lesser species who would rise against the elders. A species from the spiral's edge. A species of fire and defiance. The description matches humanity. The chamber froze. Every delegate stared in shock. Some sneered. Some shook with fear. Others whispered to one another. The reptilian delegate snarled, pounding the railing again. Prophecies are lies. Crush them now before this nonsense spreads, but not all agreed. The golden-eyed envoy spread his wings wide. If the prophecy is real, then every weapon we turn against them will only strengthen their resolve. Perhaps it is not their destruction we should fear. Perhaps it is their survival. The speaker's voice cracked like thunder. Silence. The elders will not be threatened by myth. We will destroy them before the prophecy has a chance to breathe. Back on Earth, inside the war room of the Human Defense Council, leaders prepared for the next move. They did not know of the prophecy whispered in alien halls, but they knew another battle was coming. Arden stood before the fleet map, his face grim but unbroken. Admiral Sato's voice carried across the chamber. They will send more. Stronger ships. We must be ready. And from the stars, the answer was already forming. The alien council chamber erupted in one final decision. The speaker raised his staff high, 6 eyes burning with fury. Send the armada. Humanity will burn. The sound shook the dome. Every delegate knew the course was set, but in the shadows, the observers watched silently. And in their hidden eyes, there was not only fear, but something else. Curiosity. The alien fleet prepared to march, the prophecy hanging like a shadow over their decision, while humanity stood unknowingly on the edge of a war that could decide the fate of the galaxy. The skies above Earth glowed with fire as shipyards roared day and night. Massive engines were lowered into place. Hulls the size of mountains were welded together. Sparks rained across the dark void as humanity worked faster than ever before. Every city on Earth could feel it. Factories stopped producing luxuries. Farms shifted to feed soldiers. Millions of hands worked together with one purpose. The next battle was coming. On the orbiting command ring, Captain Arden looked out over the growing fleet. Ships scarred from the last battle now bore fresh armor. New carriers lined the docks. Frigates swarmed like insects, engines burning bright. Humanity had never built warships this fast. Humanity had never been this united, but fear still lingered. Reports whispered of the alien council preparing an armada. Ships larger than mountains. Weapons older than Earth itself. Humanity's fleet was stronger, but no one knew if it was enough. The War Council met in a bunker deep beneath Geneva. Screens filled the walls, each showing live updates from orbit. Admirals and generals stood shoulder to shoulder. Politicians sat silent, the weight of survival pressing on them all. Admiral Sato spoke first, his voice steady but heavy. "Our intelligence confirms it. A second alien fleet is coming. Twice as large, twice as deadly. Their flagship alone could crush half our defenses." The chamber fell silent. The leaders looked at one another, fear etched in their eyes. Then the president of the council rose, his voice clear. "We cannot run. We cannot hide. If Earth falls, all of humanity falls. We make our stand here." The words carried power. Around the table, heads lifted. Fear shifted into resolve. Orders began to flow. Every ship, every soldier, every citizen would prepare. In the barracks, young soldiers suited up. Their armor gleamed with the new symbol of the defense fleet, a star blazing inside a shield. Many were afraid, but none turned back. Families stood at departure gates, holding loved ones tight before letting them march aboard waiting transports. In the training halls, veterans drilled new recruits. Every move was sharp, every command loud. Humanity's army was no longer scattered nations. It was one. Above the moon, Arden walked the deck of Resolute Dawn. Fires from the last battle had been repaired, but scars remained. He traced his hand along the blackened metal. It reminded him of the cost already paid. Lieutenant Hayes joined him, helmet under his arm. "Sir, crews are ready. Morale is high, but they are asking questions. They want to know if we can win." Arden stared out into the stars. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he answered quietly, "We can fight. That is enough." Hayes gave a sharp nod. "Then they will fight with you until the end." Far across the stars, the alien armada gathered. Hundreds of warships, dark and sharp, assembled like blades. Their flagship, a colossus of shadow and light, led the formation. Alien voices echoed across their channels, chanting war. In the council chamber, the speaker smiled coldly as reports came in. "They stand ready, but they will fall all the same." The golden-eyed envoy said nothing. He simply watched the fleet and whispered to himself, "Or they will rise higher than you fear." Back on Earth, tension grew as the countdown began. Civilians crowded rooftops, watching streaks of fire as warships launched from the planet. News stations broadcast images of giant cruisers leaving orbit, banners of humanity painted across their sides. Children pointed to the sky, whispering about heroes. Old veterans saluted the screens, remembering wars long past. The whole world held its breath. When the signal came, the fleet surged into the void. Hundreds of ships broke orbit, engines blazing. Carriers, destroyers, battleships and frigates all formed up in perfect formation. It was the largest armada humanity had ever created. On the bridge of Resolute Dawn, Arden stood tall. Around him the crew worked with calm precision. They were no longer just defenders. They were a wall of steel and fire between Earth and extinction. Admiral Sato's voice echoed across every channel. To every ship, to every soldier, "You are the shield of Earth. You are the blade of humanity. Stand firm." "Today we hold the line," a roar answered back across the comms. Thousands of voices, human voices, united in one cry. The stars darkened. The alien fleet arrived. One by one, massive ships slipped out of the void. Their hulls glowed with violet light. Their weapons hummed like storms. Hundreds, then thousands filled the black sky. The enemy armada stretched farther than sensors could count. On Earth, billions watched the live feed. The screen filled with alien warships, blotting out the stars. Fear struck every heart, but so did awe. On Resolute Dawn, Hayes whispered, "There are so many." Arden's jaw tightened. His eyes never left the enemy fleet. "Then we fight them all." The void between Earth and the stars now burned with tension. Two armadas, human and alien, faced each other in silence, engines glowing, weapons primed. The first shot would decide the fate of humanity. The void was silent. Earth's fleet floated in formation, rows of steel giants bristling with weapons. Engines burned like blue stars, lighting the darkness. Crews held their breath. Every finger hovered over triggers, every sensor locked on the enemy. Across from them, the alien armada stretched farther than sight. Hundreds of warships, sharp as blades, glowed with violet fire. Their flagship loomed above the rest, a fortress that dwarfed even humanity's largest carriers. Its hull pulsed like a living wound in space, weapons humming with deadly energy. Both fleets waited. Neither moved. Captain Arden stood on the command deck of Resolute Dawn, staring at the tactical map. The two forces faced each other across the Black Gulf, one spark away from destruction. The crew around him was tense, silent, waiting for the moment the universe would shatter. Lieutenant Hayes whispered, "How long will they wait?" Arden did not blink. "Until someone decides they cannot." On the alien flagship, the speaker's voice echoed through the bridge. "End this now. Fire upon them. Let Earth see what defiance brings." But the golden-eyed envoy, present as a witness, raised a feathered hand. "If you fire first, you will confirm their prophecy. Let them make the choice. Let them show the galaxy they are the aggressors." The speaker's 6 eyes narrowed. He hated hesitation. He hated doubt. Yet his clawed hand lowered. "Then we wait. Let them break the silence." On Earth, billions watched the live feed. The image showed the two fleets locked in stillness, like statues of war. Children clutched their parents. Old soldiers sat in silence, remembering their own battles. The world's heart beat as one, waiting for the first spark. In the war bunker, the council debated in hushed tones. Some urged restraint, others demanded action, but all knew the same truth. If the alien fleet struck first, Earth might not survive. If humanity struck first, there could be no turning back. Inside Resolute Dawn, alarms flashed. A squadron of alien escorts broke formation, engines burning. They moved fast, weaving toward Earth's flank. "Admiral, they are testing our line," Arden warned over the comm. Admiral Sato's voice came back, sharp. "Do not fire unless fired upon. Hold the line." The alien squadron moved closer, crossing into the outer perimeter. Human destroyers shifted to block them, engines flaring. For a heartbeat, the two forces glided past one another without firing. Then a single shot ripped through the void. No one knew who fired it. A flash of light, a streak of fire. It struck one of the human destroyers, tearing a hole through its hull. The ship erupted in flame, breaking apart before the crew could escape. The silence shattered. "Return fire," Sato commanded. The void exploded with light. Missiles roared from human carriers, trails of fire burning through the black. Railguns spat molten metal. Energy cannons thundered like storms. The alien fleet answered in kind. Beams of violet energy cut across the stars, slicing through armor. Explosions lit the sky as warships on both sides burned. The great battle had begun. On the bridge of Resolute Dawn, the crew worked in a frenzy. Hayes shouted coordinates, gunners locked. Targets, engineers rerouted power to shields. Arden's voice cut through the chaos, calm and sharp. "Focus fire on their escorts. Break their teeth before they tear into our carriers." Human ships swarmed together, overwhelming isolated alien frigates. Explosions bloomed like suns as enemy escorts shattered one by one. But for every alien ship destroyed, 2 human ships fell. On Earth, the people watched the sky fill with fire. The feed showed their fleet fighting with fury, but the alien armada pressed harder. News anchors shouted updates, voices trembling as ship names appeared on casualty lists. In the streets, civilians prayed. In bunkers, leaders clenched their fists. Humanity's fate was being written in the stars above. Suddenly, the alien flagship moved. The Fortress of Shadow drifted forward, its weapons powering up. A deep hum shook the void, growing louder and louder. On Resolute Dawn, alarms screamed. Hayes paled as he read the readings. "Sir, their main gun is charging. If it fires, half our fleet is gone." Arden's jaw tightened. "Then we hit it first. All ships concentrate fire on the flagship now." Humanity's fleet turned as one. Barrages of missiles and cannon fire streaked toward the alien giant. Explosions rippled across its surface, tearing away armor, breaking open glowing scars. For a moment, hope surged. Then the flagship fired. A beam of violet light, wide as a city, tore through the darkness. It struck 3 human cruisers, cutting them in half in a single instant. Debris rained across the battlefield, glowing like falling stars. The crew of Resolute Dawn stared in shock. Hayes whispered, "How can we fight that?" Orden's voice was steady, but inside his chest burned with fire. By standing. By never breaking. The alien flagship turned its weapon again, targeting the heart of the human formation. Admiral Sato's voice rang out across every channel. "All ships, prepare counterstrike. This is the line. If we fall here, Earth is lost. Give them everything." Humanity's fleet surged forward, engines screaming, weapons primed for a final push. As the alien flagship's weapon charged for a second devastating strike, the human armada launched headlong into the storm, the fate of Earth hanging on the next few seconds. The alien flagship's weapon glowed brighter, a storm of violet fire gathering at its core. The hum was deafening, shaking every ship's sensors across the human fleet. One more blast, and Earth's defenses would be crippled. Admiral Sato's voice cut through the comms. "All ships, this is it. Strike now or die where you stand." Humanity's fleet surged forward. Engines roared, trails of blue light cutting across the void. Carriers launched waves of fighters. Bombers dived between enemy beams, weaving through deadly fire. Frigates opened full barrages, railguns hammering with rapid thunder. On Resolute Dawn, Captain Arden stood at the front of the deck, calm despite the chaos. His voice carried above the alarms. "Target their weapon core." "Nothing else matters," Lieutenant Hayes shouted over the noise. "Sir, getting close enough means suicide." Arden's eyes locked on the burning glow of the alien giant. "Then someone will have to bleed first." The battle became a storm. Fighters streaked like sparks across the flagship's hull, unleashing torpedoes against glowing armor plates. Explosions tore at the surface, peeling away massive chunks of alien metal. But the giant hardly slowed. Its escorts swarmed around it, blasting apart human squadrons with merciless precision. One bomber wing dived too close. A beam lanced out, slicing half the squadron into dust. The survivors pulled up, screaming over the comms. "They are tearing us apart." "Stay on target. Do not break formation." From Earth, billions watched in horror. The feed showed the alien flagship looming larger and larger as humanity threw everything at it. Fire rained across the stars. Warships exploded in bursts of light, their names whispered by anchors with breaking voices. Families clutched each other, praying for their defenders. But in the silence of homes and cities, a strange feeling grew. Not just fear, something else, pride. Humanity was standing. Humanity was fighting. On the alien flagship's command deck, the speaker watched calmly as reports came in. They rushed toward their death. "They will break upon us like waves against stone." But the golden-eyed envoy leaned closer, his feathers twitching. "And yet the waves keep coming." The speaker's 6 eyes narrowed. "They will drown in their own courage." Back on Resolute Dawn, alarms screamed as another blast shook the ship. Panels burst in sparks. Smoke filled the deck. Crews scrambled to keep systems online. Hayes yelled, "Shields failing." "Hull breach on deck 7. We cannot take another direct hit." Arden gripped the railing, his eyes locked forward. "Then we will not give them the chance." "Helm, take us in close." Right under their firing line, the helmsman's voice cracked. "Sir, if we get any closer, do it!" Arden barked. The ship lurched forward, dodging debris and beams. The alien flagship grew massive on the screen, a wall of fire and metal. Every second felt like eternity as Resolute Dawn closed the gap. The human fleet followed. Destroyers flanked Resolute Dawn, shields overlapping, creating a moving wall of protection. Carriers launched their last reserves of fighters, flooding the skies with burning trails. Admiral Sato's voice rang out across the comms. "All units, hold nothing back. This is humanity's moment. Strike with everything." The fleet answered in one roar, weapons firing in unison. The void lit up like a second sun. Missiles slammed into the flagship's armor. Railgun rounds pierced deep into its surface. Explosions rippled across its hull, sending shockwaves through space. The giant groaned as its armor split open, exposing glowing machinery beneath. For the first time, the alien flagship staggered. On Earth, cheers erupted. Cities that had been silent now shouted in triumph. For a moment, fear gave way to hope. The impossible enemy was bleeding, but the battle was not over. The alien flagship steadied itself, its core glowing brighter than ever. Its main weapon was almost ready. The hum reached a scream, shaking every ship's sensors. Hayes shouted, "Sir, it is charging again." "If it fires, the fleet is gone." Arden's face hardened. "Then we take it out before it does." "Signal the bombers. Target the exposed core." The bombers received the order. Dozens of ships dived into the burning storm, weaving through enemy fire. One by one, they were cut down, ships bursting into flames. Yet others pressed on, missiles locked on target. The flagship's weapon grew brighter. The bombers closed the gap. Inside the alien council chamber, delegates watched the live feed. Shock rippled through them as they saw humanity's fleet refusing to break. The golden-eyed envoy whispered, "They should be ashes, yet they rise." The speaker snarled, "They are only delaying their end." But even he leaned forward, unease in his 6 eyes. In the void, the bombers fired. Dozens of missiles streaked toward the flagship's glowing core. Explosions erupted across the surface, tearing open the armored casing. The weapon stuttered, its glow flickering. The human fleet roared in triumph. For the first time, victory seemed possible. Then the flagship responded. Its weapon flared back to life, brighter than ever, charging for a final shot. Hayes stared at the screens, his voice breaking. "Sir, if it fires now, everything is gone." Arden's eyes burned with fire. He stood tall, his voice steady. "Then we give it no chance. Prepare the ramming run." Resolute Dawn surged forward at full speed, heading straight for the alien flagship's glowing core. The fate of Earth hanging on whether humanity's desperate gamble could succeed. Resolute Dawn roared forward, its engines burning white-hot. The alien flagship filled the screens, a mountain of fire and metal, its weapon core glowing brighter with each passing second. The crew braced as the ship surged toward the heart of the beast. On the command deck, alarms screamed. Sparks fell from broken panels. Smoke choked the air. Yet Captain Arden stood tall, hands steady on the railing. "Stay on course," he ordered. Lieutenant Hayes's voice cracked. "Sir, if we collide," Arden's eyes burned, "then we buy Earth one chance to live." Across the fleet, human soldiers watched in silence as their flagship hurled itself toward the enemy. Some whispered prayers. Others saluted. All understood. Admiral Sato's voice broke across the comms, heavy but clear. "Every ship, cover them. Protect Resolute Dawn. This is humanity's strike." The order spread like fire. Carriers, cruisers, and frigates flung themselves into the storm. They blocked enemy fire with their own hulls. They drew alien beams away. They died so the path remained open. The sky burned with sacrifice. On the alien flagship, the speaker's 6 eyes widened. "They are not retreating. They are throwing themselves at us." The golden-eyed envoy leaned forward, feathers trembling. "They would rather die than bow. Do you not see it? This is what makes them dangerous," the speaker hissed. "Then let them be destroyed." The flagship's weapon flared, ready to fire. Arden's voice cut through the chaos. "Helm, prepare ramming vector. Engineering, overload the reactors. Weapons, lock everything we have on their core." The crew moved without hesitation. No one faltered. They knew this was the final strike. Hayes swallowed hard, gripping his console. "Sir, it has been an honor." Arden gave a single nod. For Earth, the gap closed. Enemy fire slammed into Resolute Dawn. Armor tore away. Flames ripped through decks. Whole sections of the ship exploded into the void. Still, it pressed forward, engines screaming against death itself. Finally, the flagship's weapon released. A beam of violet energy shot toward them, wide as a city, unstoppable. Arden shouted, "Now!" The ship's reactors overloaded, weapons fired in one final barrage. Missiles streaked toward the glowing core. Railguns spat molten metal. Every cannon, every torpedo, every ounce of firepower humanity had left slammed into the exposed heart of the alien giant. The beam struck Resolute Dawn, tearing through it. The flagship's deck shattered, fire engulfing its crew. Yet the missiles struck true. Explosions ripped through the alien weapon, blasting open the core. For a heartbeat, silence. Then the alien flagship erupted. The explosion lit the void brighter than a sun. Shockwaves tore through space, hurling debris across the battlefield. Alien escorts were consumed in the blast. Human ships were thrown spinning, their shields straining against the wave. On Earth, the skies glowed with fire as the blast reflected against the planet's shield arrays. Billions gasped as the alien giant burned, its shadow broken at last. The alien flagship was gone. On the command deck of a surviving carrier, Admiral Sato watched the firestorm fade. His face was grim, but a spark of pride burned in his eyes. They did it. By the stars they did it, but sorrow hung heavy. Resolute Dawn was gone. Captain Arden and his crew had vanished with their ship. Their sacrifice had shattered the enemy, but at a terrible cost. The remaining alien fleet faltered. Leaderless, their formations broke. Human warships pressed the attack, driving them back into the void. One by one, the invaders fled, engines burning as they retreated into the dark. For the first time in history, humanity had stood against the Elders and survived. Far across the galaxy, the council chamber was silent. The speaker stared at the images of the burning flagship, his 6 eyes trembling with rage. Impossible. They were nothing, insects. But the golden-eyed envoy's voice was quiet, steady. They were underestimated. That is your mistake. They will not stop now. Humanity has found its place among the stars. The speaker struck his staff in fury. Then we will crush them with everything we have. But in the shadows, the observers whispered among themselves. And for the first time, their words carried not command, but fear. On Earth, cities erupted with cheers. Bells rang. Crowds filled the streets. Soldiers returning from orbit were lifted on shoulders, hailed as heroes. Families wept in relief, holding each other tight. In the war bunker, the council declared it plain for the galaxy to hear. Humanity has stood its ground. Humanity will never kneel. Among the stars, debris of Resolute Dawn drifted, glowing in the void. But from the wreckage, faint signals pulsed. Distress beacons, survivors. Hayes's voice, weak but alive, crackled through static. This is Resolute Dawn. We are still here. Admiral Sato's eyes widened. Get every rescue ship we have. Bring them home. As Earth celebrated its survival, whispers spread across the galaxy. The Elders had been defied. The prophecy stirred again. Humanity had shown its answer, but the war was far from over. The stars waited.